Hey, it's Tandy with Common Ground Alaska. I thought it might be fun today to go through my Azure Standard haul for the week because I got some kind of unique things that I thought might be fun to hear about, especially if you're looking to improve maybe your nutrition in your groceries or if you're just looking for some fun new stuff. I actually have several bags of grain. I have some red hard wheat, some white hard wheat, some white soft wheat, and I got some corn because I can use those with my new grain mill. Here is what I received in my Azure Standard order this month. So I got some sucanut sugar. I've not used this before, but I've heard good things about it. And when we were at my in-laws in Oregon in last month, she uses it and we were talking about it. And it's interesting the ways that different things can be made. Sucanut is actually much less refined than regular sugar. So it still has a lot of the minerals, the antioxidants. So even though it is still a sugar product, it's still a sweetener, it actually has some health benefits. So if you're going to be eating sugar, you might as well be getting some good out of it too, right? I got some tricolored quinoa. I had been eyeballing this for a while and I decided to go ahead and go for it because we're adding a few grains back into our diet. I've been eating carnivore or lion for about 3 months, actually. We're slowly introducing grains and seeing what we can handle and what we can't. And so I'm excited to try this quinoa. I love that quinoa has good protein in it. So I got that. Remember that everything from Azure Standard is always organic. And so, and they're very careful about who they get their supplies from. I love that. I got this lovely tea called Smooth Move. Actually, it's not tea. I opted for to not have the tea, but to get the capsules. If you have trouble keeping things moving, this is an option for you. Let's see. What else? Oh, I got a little bit of wild rice too to try. This is it. Just a little bag goes a long way with wild rice. We don't eat a lot of rice and quinoa and stuff like that. So this is going to supply us for a good long time, but it was fun to try. So we've got some wild rice. I got some sunflower lecithin, and the purpose of this is because I did get the grain mill and I'll be making bread out of fresh milled grains. And so this is a softener. It's like kind of a dough conditioner for my breads. So that's going to be fun. We got lion's mane mushroom gummies. Gene takes this. He has a brain injury. We're doing our best to give his brain all the help it can get. So he takes these. I got a big bag of onions. I don't remember, maybe 10 pounds of onions. So again, these are organic. And I like using organic onions because the peels all go in my freezer and then they go into stock. And so I like to make meat stock. And so I like to make sure that I'm putting all organic foods in there. So that's it for that box. And then here's the other box. This one's really fun. So I have some collagen peptides. We're eating carnivore or lion. So I make a lot of meatballs. It's an easy dinner it's an easy food that I can make a bunch of and just eat on them for several days. So I just mix the meat together with some salt. And then I'll add some collagen peptides in here and it soaks up some of the fat. So the fat stays in the meatball and doesn't cook out. They're a little bit different texture too. So I actually really like this. I go through quite a bit of it. So I got 3 bags of this. I got a treat for Gene and Abby. I didn't tell them. These Yum Earth lemon drops are some of their favorites. So I did get some of these for them. 2 bags, actually. I got some cashew pieces. One of the other foods that we're slowly reintroducing. This is going to take some time, but we're reintroducing some nuts. But I've learned rather than just buying nuts at the store, it's better if we get them raw. Then I'll soak them in salt water and then I'll put salt on them and dehydrate them. And then we'll eat them that way. And that makes them much more digestible. And I don't want to undo all the work that we've spent all this time doing. So now we're getting into produce. And so I want to talk for just a second about buying produce from Azure Standard because you have to be careful about that. I do try to only buy things that are pretty hardy. And I also try to buy things as they're in season, unless they're very hardy. So in this case, I got some jalapeno peppers. They are going to go with these guys. Let me pull this out. Oh, that's a lot. Oh boy. Goodness. I have some horseradish root. Horseradish root's a little bit hard to get a hold of sometimes. When it's available, I try to get enough. Now, what I'll do with this is I'm going to make probably 3 or 4 gallons of fire cider with part of this horseradish. And then the rest of it, I'm just going to peel and put in the freezer because that's not true. Part of it, I might plant and see if I can get it to sprout. I'm not sure if it will or not. And I actually have some in my greenhouse that hopefully I'll be able to plant in the ground next year. But I'm going to try one and just see how it does. What doesn't get used this time is just going to get peeled and thrown in the freezer because it will just get used for fire cider in the future. So it doesn't matter if it gets mushy or whatever, as long as it's peeled, it can just go straight in or even just scrubbed. Okay. So then back to my jalapenos, then I have jalapenos to go in the fire cider too. But I also, for Jean and Abby, they love stuffed jalapenos. So I'll grate some cheese, raw cheddar from Azure, of course, some cheese and some cream cheese together, and then put that in, take the seeds out of the jalapeno, put the cheese mixture, the cream cheese and cheese inside, wrap that in bacon and bake it, and they'll think that's lovely. So I'll do that. I got some celery. I also prefer organic celery because, again, if I put it in my meat stock, which I do for stuff that Jean and Abby are eating, then I want to make sure that it's organic because all the tips and all the ends and all that kind of stuff are going in there. And I don't want to be making an amazing, nourishing food and then end up adding yucky chemicals to it. Here's some turmeric. Part of the turmeric is going to go in the fire cider as well, but I am going to plant one of the turmeric roots. That'll be fun. And the same with the ginger. Part of the ginger, I'll save the ginger too, because I use it throughout the year or throughout the season. This won't last very long. This will be all used up, but I am going to plant part of it. Someday I'll tell the story of what happened to last year's ginger plants. It's a bizarre story, but that's not for today. And then I also got some shiitake mushrooms, and I get these, I'll turn it this way. I get these almost every time. What's fun is these ones are huge. Normally they come a lot smaller. I actually had gotten this is a pound. I'd gotten a couple of 5-pound things of shiitakes, and I actually dehydrated them, and I'll throw some of those in my broth too. Even if I'm not doing regular vegetables like onion and celery, if it's for me, the stock, I still oftentimes will put some of the dehydrated mushrooms in there for that kind of flavor. I love the flavor of the mushrooms. And then the last thing that I got that I wanted to show you is I got some apples. These are Cosmic Crisp, which are our favorite apple. Look at the size of these. Isn't that fun? They're nice and big. They came in perfect condition. They come chilled, but they're still nice and crisp, and they're super sweet. So although we know they've been stored since Cosmic Crisp season, which is probably, I don't know, September, October, they still came up in great shape. And we're getting to the end of apple season, but we really enjoy having apples around. And even when I'm eating full Lion, oftentimes I will just take a little slice of an apple and eat it. That's one thing that I know doesn't cause inflammation in my body, and it just tastes really good. That crunch, I'll add some salt, and it's good stuff. So the other thing that I like about Azure Standard Produce is that they have a commitment to not buying any produce that has the product appeal on it. And since we don't know much about appeal yet, I figure if I can't get answers about what's inside a chemical, then I don't want it sprayed on my food. Plus, I just like my food plain. I think God made it perfectly, and I just want it to stay this way. That's it. That's what I got from Azure Standard this time. And if you have any questions about Azure Standard, or if you want to know more about any of these products, I'm happy to help. I just have loved ordering from Azure for years, and they really are. Hello, Myrtle. They really are my main staple grocery store that I use for things that are a little bit harder to find up here. All right. Have a good day.